Boys only. The story of the sky oil helped to convince the French that their king was sent by the great God above the clouds. That's why whenever the king ordered people to give him food, they all gave him lots of food, and he would have a mountain of apples and baguettes and smelly cheeses, even though lots of people were hungry. And when he told them to build him a palace, they built him a huge palace, even though many of them lived in small huts. And when he told them to go and fight the armies of other kings, they took their swords and shields and went to fight, and many of them were killed in wars. And if anybody didn't want to do what the king ordered, people said, "But he has sky oil on his head. We must obey him." There is one question you might be asking yourself. The glass bottle was very small and didn't contain much oil, so you would think that after crowning a few kings, there would be no more sky oil left. And remember, no oil, no king. How would they get more of that sky oil? What would you do if you were the king's son and you needed that bottle to have oil in it so that you could become the new king? Do you have an idea? You do? Well, the kings of France probably had exactly the same idea. Anyway, every time people came to crown a new king, they found that the small glass bottle had enough oil in it. And the French believed that this was another miracle. It proved that the great God above the clouds really liked the new king. But one day the king's daughter said that she wanted to put the sky oil on her head and become ruler of France. Everybody laughed at her. "You can't rule France," they said, "because the great God above the clouds doesn't like girls very much. The great God above the clouds is a boy, so he made boys much smarter and braver than girls. So a girl can't rule the kingdom of France. Only boys can." And because people believed the story, they wouldn't let girls become rulers. In fact, they wouldn't let them do all sorts of things. Girls couldn't be ship captains or judges or even go to school. The story of the sky oil was extremely important because it helped decide who would rule France and who would tell millions of people what to do. The people of France believed this story for a very long time, and for more than 1,000 years, France was ruled by oily kings. But in the end, some wise people started thinking about the story. "Hey, this story is complete nonsense." One of them said, "Why does everyone believe it? No great God above the clouds says that France should be ruled by kings, or that boys are better than girls. The kings and their sons just invented the story so that people would do what they say." "That's right," someone else agreed. "And why do people think that you need to put oil on your head in order to rule France? What a ridiculous idea. And does everyone really believe it was a miracle that tiny bottle of oil never dried up? No way. Whenever they needed to crown a new king, a servant probably sneaked into the room where the oil bottle was kept and secretly poured ordinary kitchen oil into it." The people of France became very angry that they'd believed this nonsense for so many years and allowed all those kings to take their smelly cheeses and send them to fight nasty wars. So they captured the king and cut off his head. They found the old oil bottle and broke it to pieces. And no God from above the clouds came down to punish them. Historians call this time when the French people stopped believing in kings The French Revolution. Today, France no longer has a king. The people elect whomever they like to be president of France. And you don't have to put oil on your head to be president. If, after a few years, people stop liking the president, they elect somebody else. And anybody can become president, girls as well as boys. Of course, like people around the world, the French people believed in all kinds of other strange stories. The story of corporations, for example, and stories about complicated ideas like nationalism and democracy that we'll talk about another time. But there are two important things to remember. People need stories in order to cooperate, and they can change the way they cooperate by changing the stories they believe. That's why we're far more powerful than ants. That's our superpower.